Amber. She had been waiting for a year for this day. She's been into animals since she was still in diapers. Her science project is to raise a baby lamb. She was all excited when I left that morning. She's like, "Thanks, Mom, I love you so much. Thank you for the lamb."
I think I've known Amber since she was about 4 years old. Me and her mom were friends for a long time before we started dating. With funny ears. To me, Amber's my baby girl. All Amber wanted that day was to go pay for her lamb. And when I left, I wrote the check for her to grab on her way out the door.
Amber, say bye-bye.
I was the last person that seen Amber.
I think Dave called and he says, "Amber never made it to school." And I said, "What?" I knew as soon as Dave said she didn't make it to school, someone had taken her. There was no question in my mind.
Tonight, a 14-year-old girl is missing, and Escondido police are asking for your help in finding her.
The Amber Dubois case is one of the most frustrating cases that we've been faced. Typically, you have evidence, you have witnesses. In this case, we had nothing.
It didn't make sense to me how she could be in front of her school with 2,000 other students, and someone was able to take her.
It's like she just vanished.
Maurice Dubois, Amber's father, did not give up.
Nothing's more important than the search for Amber.
Search and rescue volunteers canvassed the area, but still no Amber.
We're definitely 100% a team, all of us.
Every weekend, I get my hopes up. And then the weekend's over and I just fall apart.
Mark your holidays with tears. There is no holiday when your child is missing.
You know, you start looking at everybody you know.
I mean, you suspect and you don't trust anybody. You think anyone could do it.
There's a part of me that I'm not 100% sure when it comes to Dave.
Before this all happened, Carrie and I were doing better than we've ever done in the history of our relationship. And in a matter of no time at all, that all went away.
We're getting so much information from different sources saying, you know, you need to look at Dave.
Many people said, well, look at the step-parent, it's always the step-parent.
Couldn't lay in the same bed with the man who I thought might have done something to my daughter.
Why would you look at me? I don't understand why you would look at me. Do whatever you need to do to find Amber, but hurry up and get done looking at me so you can start looking the proper direction.
Taken, the Amber Dubois story.
Let us pray. We ask that you'll watch over each one of the searchers and lead us to that crucial piece of evidence that's going to bring Amber home. Amen.
Amen. It has been 22 days since Amber Dubois disappeared.
Amber is a 14-year-old girl, 5'5", 130 pounds.
And the desperate search for the straight-A student,
search and rescue with the Sheriff's Department,
is in high gear. More than 400 volunteers are combing 200 square miles of countryside on foot.
Be observant. Watch for things that are out of place.
The crisis has brought together a fractured family. Amber's mom, Carrie McGonigal.
Every morning she'd wake me up before she left for school and give me a kiss and tell me she loved me.
Amber's father, Mo Dubois.
We're not losing hope, not in any way.
And the man Carrie lives with now, Dave Cave.
Amber lives at my house, and I come home to her every day. She's my daughter to me. She's my baby girl.
It's the spirit of a special child that keeps their hopes alive.
My daughter Amber is my sweetheart. She's a little girl who always has a little smirk on her face, tease me all the time, give me a hard time about my receding hairline, and that's my kid.
She loves to read. She has friends at school and stuff, but she doesn't go to the mall. She hates to shop. She doesn't wear makeup. She's a bookworm.
But as the days pass with no breaks in the case, the stress starts taking a toll on all three parents.
This is tearing Carrie's heart out of her. She's just, I hate seeing what it's doing to her.
It consumes you, you know, you don't know where your daughter is, you know, your child is, and it just changes your whole world.
I don't want to make it to a month. I want a hug tomorrow. I want a hug tonight. I want to see someone call us tonight and say, we've got her. She's coming home.
In the next hour, you'll witness a remarkable and intimate journey. For a year and a half from the time Amber first went missing, 48 hours has been with her anguished family. You'll see how the strain of her disappearance wore them down and for a time tore them apart. The mystery of Amber Dubois' disappearance began here on the day before Valentine's Day.
She was seen by two different parents walking up the street.
Amber was last seen around 7 a.m. just blocks from Escondido High School.
She was walking by herself the first time, and the second time there was a man standing next to her, or a kid.
When Amber didn't show up at home by 4:30 that afternoon, her stepfather Dave went looking for her.
I went to her first class, and her teacher told me that she had not shown up to class. And immediately I knew something was wrong.
I get a call from Carrie saying, I don't know where Amber is. Hysterical, in tears.
Her panicked family went into immediate search mode, retracing Amber's route to school, plastering the town with flyers, and knocking on every door in the neighborhood. Nobody in Amber's family is willing to give up hope, even down to the smallest member, Dave and Carrie's 7-year-old daughter, Allison.
She'll hear people say kidnapped or abducted, and she kind of freaks out, you know. And Amber's not kidnapped, and she wants to search. So at night we go on walks with the dogs, and we go.
We have 6 on that side too.
And search for her sister because she wants to participate.
Amber's father Mo puts his life on hold, taking a leave from his job as an electrical engineer in Los Angeles, and moving to a nearby hotel with his partner Rebecca Smith.
Usually end my night by about 2 or 3 hours of crying. I have to have my point to release. If volunteers and everyone around here start to see my frustration, then it'll trickle on through them.
As the days pass, hope begins to fade, replaced by a growing suspicion that Amber may have met with foul play in her own home. Escondido police begin focusing on one member of the family in particular, Amber's stepfather, Dave Cave.
How soon after her disappearance did you realize that you were a person of interest?
I don't think it actually really set in for me for a couple of weeks. The head searcher said, you can't be being involved with any of this search because you do not want to be the person who finds Amber. And I kind of looked at him like, why not? And they said, if you're the person that finds something, they are going to pin it on you. I was the last person that's seen Amber.
Tell me about the morning of February the 13th.
Amber was up and ready to go to school on time without any prompting because she knew she was getting a check to get her lamb.
Dave walked us through what he says happened the morning Amber disappeared.
About when I finished getting dressed, Amber came into my room and said, Dave, you got my check for the lamb? And I said, I'll give it to you before I leave, sweetie. So she came up several times, and I think it was the 4th time that she asked for the check. I said, sweetie, I will give you a check before I leave. Just go downstairs. You'll have a check, I promise. Just relax. So I came downstairs, and I sat down at the table right here. I wrote out the check for the lamb, and I walked right in here. I sat the check down on the arm of the couch, and Amber was sitting on the floor right there. She was eating a bowl of cereal, and I said, sweetie, here's your check for your lamb. I'll see you later, I love you. And I turned around and walked out the door and went about my day.
That was the last you saw of her?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was what this man of routine did not do that quickly made him a key suspect. Dave Cave did not show up for work that day. He says he went to the gym and then home to do his taxes.
And when I came back to the house, she was gone, so I figured she went to school. She should have been at school by then.
But while he was at home, Dave somehow did not get the message from the high school secretary alerting them that Amber, the girl with perfect attendance, had failed to show up at school.
Fairly early on into the investigation, suspicion was swirling around your partner, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
But eventually, you became suspicious as well.
You know, Dave had come to my work that day and brought me some chocolate-covered strawberries and some roses that day.
That's a nice gesture.
Yeah, well, it was for Valentine's Day. It was 13th, except that Dave doesn't celebrate Valentine's Day. And he stuck around for like 45 minutes that day, and I'm like, I had to ask him to leave. I'm like, Dave, what are you doing here? Go.
Another concern for investigators centers on some tension between Dave and Amber that led the family to counseling.
Amber and I didn't always get along perfectly. It's a house, there's rules. She's a teenager. She doesn't want to follow the rules. There's going to be a certain amount of conflict.
They really didn't talk for the whole month before Amber went missing. It was a constant bicker.
But Dave claims the night before Amber disappeared, they finally called a truce.
I know the night before she went missing, we went out and went shopping and went to the bookstore and stuff, and we had a really good time.
But could Amber possibly have said or done something the next morning to set Dave off? Escondido police are taking a hard look at Dave, and the answers he gives police will raise Carrie's suspicions even further.
We're sitting with the detectives and everything, and he's telling me what he did that day, and I'm like, just take him in. That's how bad he looked.
When I went in for my original interview with the police, they took pictures of my hands, take your shirt off, pictures of my arms, my back, my chest, to make sure I didn't have any marks on me.
Within days of Amber Dubois' disappearance, Escondido police start zeroing in on Dave Cave, the man the missing 14-year-old called her stepfather.
Did detectives ask you the question directly, did you kill Amber?
They never, I don't think they used the word kill. They asked directly, do you know Amber's whereabouts? Do you know anything about Amber's disappearance? Things like that. And in the polygraph test, they asked questions like that.
You took the polygraph exam 8 times. Why so many?
They had nothing to go on. They're clearly looking for something to go on.
But they kept on coming back to you.
Statistics point at me. Statistics point at the male of the household that the child lives in.
Did police ever come to you and say, we believe Dave may be responsible for Amber's disappearance?
Did they come straight out and say that? No. Did they hint to that? Absolutely.
Well, this is someone that you trust, I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Right? I trust.
You loved him.
Yeah, he's the father of my child.
But you also believed he was capable of murder?
I had doubt.
Did Carrie ever ask you the question, were you responsible for her disappearance?
Oh, absolutely.
She asked you. This is a woman you're in love with. And she suspected you as well.
Mm-hmm.
What did this do to your relationship with Carrie?
I don't know where Carrie and I's relationship goes in the future.
6 weeks after Amber goes missing, Carrie makes a heart-wrenching decision. She packs up and moves out, taking Allison, the daughter she shares with Dave.
Did the police tell you to move out?
Nope.
You decided on your own?
Oh, I had to.
Why?
I couldn't lay in the same bed with the man who I thought might have done something to my daughter. Did I think, honestly, that Dave premeditated this, that he could have? No. Did I think maybe Amber bugged him 5 or 6 times about the check like she did, and there was maybe a confrontation, maybe she fell down the stairs? I don't know what went, I can't tell you what went on through my head, but did I think that Dave plan to kill Amber? Absolutely not. I think an accident might have happened. Yeah. And he hit it. Yeah.
I feel like I'm 100 years old. It's taken a huge toll on everybody. It's just destroyed everybody's lives.
Dave neglects his scaffolding business, which begins to crumble.
I was the driving force of my company, and I quit driving. And we're paying the price. I don't know that we make it through.
And Amber's father, Mo, loses his job and his savings financing the search. With no leads in the case, the whole family lives in a constant state of paranoia.
I'm scared to death that something could happen to Allison. My daughter pretty much doesn't get out of my sight when she's with me. She doesn't go to the playground here without somebody sitting in that front yard. I've lost faith in people.
My heart tells me she's still alive, and we're gonna find her.
In August, 6 months after Amber vanished, Carrie's mother hires a team of live-scent search and recovery dogs to retrace Amber's steps on the last day she was seen.
Quincy and Jack are trained to follow the odor of one specific person and to exclude all others. They have an outstanding track record when it comes to cold cases.
They followed the trail from our house up the freeway.
The dogs lead searchers to Escondido High School, and then along a 15-mile stretch of highway to the remote Pala Indian Reservation. It's a baffling clue.
I've never brought her here, and so I believe that she was brought here by whoever took her.
Carrie is convinced Amber is still nearby and alive.
She's probably within, 50-mile range, I think, which just drives me crazy. But then you look around here and look how much land there is to cover, you know. I got to keep the faith. That's hard.
After countless sleepless nights, on February 13th, 2010, Amber's family find themselves marking the one-year anniversary of her disappearance.
That one is. Grab a table, Cody.
We've decided to have a walk-a-thon to help raise money to further her search efforts.
It's a nightmare, every day, it never ends.
We're back at square one. Something's got to break in this case. We just don't know when or how, but somebody knows something.
Escondido Police and Sheriff's Homicide detectives were following a lead in the case when they made this discovery.
Breaking news, authorities are searching a North County neighborhood this morning in hopes of finding a missing teenager.
Almost a year to the day that Amber Dubois disappeared.
She's about 5'5", weighs 115 pounds.
Her family wakes to the news that another promising teen is missing.
My roommate came into my room and she said, "Carrie, there's another girl missing. She's 17, her name's Chelsea."
Chelsea King, an honors high school student, fails to return from her afternoon run near Lake Hodges.
Her car found at the Rancho Bernardo Community Center.
Just 10 miles from where Amber disappeared. Her grief-stricken parents, Brent and Kelly King, appeal for help.
Anybody out there, if you know anything, please just help us bring her home.
She's a great kid.
She's such a good girl. She needs to come home.
What was your immediate thought?
My immediate thought is I wanted to get in my car and drive over there and help search for her.
The next morning, armed with 3,000 flyers and hundreds of volunteers,
We're just part of the search team for Chelsea King and was hoping...
Amber's family joins the search for Chelsea.
I knew it was a very, very difficult time for them, and whatever support we can give to them, the family, the group, we wanted to be there for that.
I said a prayer that she was found fast.
But while searchers combed the area, unbeknownst to the public, police had already discovered a vital clue. Chelsea's underwear and socks are found near a running trail. They are sent to a lab for DNA testing. Then, just 72 hours later, the San Diego sheriff makes a stunning announcement.
At approximately 4:20 this afternoon, investigators with the Fugitive Task Force arrested 30-year-old John Albert Gardner III.
DNA on Chelsea's underwear is linked to John Gardner, a convicted sex offender on parole with a criminal record dating back 10 years. Gardner had recently spent 6 years in prison for savagely beating and sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl. And Gardner is also identified by another woman, Candace Moncayo, as the man who attacked her on the same jogging trail just 2 months earlier.
He threw me down onto the ground and he pinned me to the ground. And like I said, I was screaming and he said, "Shut up." And I said, "No."
Moncayo told her story to CNN's Larry King.
And I said, "Well, you're going to have to kill me first," because I thought that he was trying to rape me. He said, "That can be arranged."
But Moncayo, the daughter of a world kickboxing champion, was fighting for her life.
I took my right elbow and I bashed him in the nose. And he grabbed his face and turned away from me. And I got up and I ran faster than I think I've ever run in my life.
Under questioning, Gardner denies any involvement in King's disappearance or the attack on Moncayo. Just 48 hours later, San Diego DA Bonnie Dumanis is meeting with top cops when they get the news everyone has been dreading.
We were all sitting around the table when every beeper in the room started going off. You could just feel the room change, and they were notified, each one of them, that they had found Chelsea and that she was not alive.
Devastating news from Lake Hodges after investigators announced they believe they have found the body of 17-year-old Chelsea King in a shallow grave.
Gardner is charged with the murder of Chelsea King and the attack on Moncayo. Despite Gardner's arrest, Amber's family still doubts he has anything to do with her disappearance.
Does it feel like to you that John Gardner might have abducted your daughter?
No, but I don't know if that's just denial.
Carrie appears on CBS's The Early Show with Harry Smith the day after Gardner's arrest.
You think somebody else may have done it?
Yeah, he seems a little sloppy in what he does. As of yesterday, they hadn't found anything that linked him with Amber.
But behind the scenes, a secret agreement is being hammered out. Gardner's attorneys are quietly reaching out to San Diego DA Dumanis, trying to save Gardner from an almost certain trip to death row.
The discussion was, I think we can lead you to Amber Dubois. We had a family that didn't know what happened to their daughter. And if we could bring Amber home, that was the most important part of this conversation.
With the blessing of Chelsea King's family, the state makes a deal. If Gardner will lead them to Amber, prosecutors will not pursue the death penalty against him for Chelsea's murder.
It was a serious and heavy agreement, and we made the decision and kept it very secret. You don't know whether or not he's telling the truth. You don't know whether you're really going to find Amber. And you don't want to raise the hopes or the fears of the family before you know.
Late the following evening, Carrie and Mo are summoned to the Escondido police station.
Mo and I had no idea why we were there.
The time, the fact that they asked us to come in immediately,
and my heart just dropped. I knew at that point it wasn't going to be good. I knew when I got the phone call. I knew it was bad.
13 months after Amber Dubois disappeared, Escondido police deliver the news her parents have been dreading.
And they said, we found remains last night, and we were able to identify them to confirm that it's Amber's remains.
Carrie and Mo sat down with us just hours later.
I was still holding out, but when they told me, it was a sense of relief. Closure. Denial.
It really hurt the most when they described the condition, her condition, and I wasn't ready to hear that. They don't have all of her yet. Her entire body has not yet been recovered. We don't know if it's because of wild animals or what, but we just know our whole baby hasn't been recovered yet.
Human skeletal remains have been positively identified as being those of our missing 14-year-old Amber.
In a bitter irony, investigators finally locate Amber's remains near the Pala Reservation, just a mile from where the live scent dogs led Amber's family just 6 months earlier. And her family learns that Gardner, a convicted sex offender, had hundreds of parole violations, which should have sent him back to prison months earlier.
He should have not have been on the street. He didn't belong on the street.
But Gardner's confession clears up one mystery that's been haunting Amber's family. Dave is no longer a suspect.
Well, how did you feel when he was cleared?
I felt relief.
Right.
You know, of course.
Did you feel a little guilty?
No. No. It's my daughter.
But Dave is still struggling to understand why Carrie ever had doubts about him.
There's hurt that will never pass. I've had things said to me that are more hurtful than anything that's ever been said to me in my life. People that should have had 100% faith in me didn't. And that's a hurt that's never going to go away.
Friends and family gather 3 weeks later as Amber is laid to rest.
I carry Amber close to me, and she's by my side, and she always will be. I feel a sense of closure. I think he feels devastated, where my anger is gonna keep me going to bring justice for Amber.
Judge, on the 1:30 calendar, item number 16, John Albert Gardner.
On April 16, 2010, in a San Diego courtroom, John Gardner pleads guilty to the slayings of Amber and Chelsea and the attack on jogger Candace Moncayo.
Do you admit the truth of those facts?
Yes.
But Gardner's guilty plea is not enough for Carrie, who feels the need to confront her daughter's killer face to face.
Why did you need to speak with him?
I needed answers.
To what questions?
How he got Amber. You know, I needed to know if she cried for me, if she begged for her life.
Authorities won't let Carrie see Gardner, so she takes to waiting at the entrance to the jail, sparking a confrontation with Gardner's mother, a psychiatric nurse.
I just want to visit your son.
Excuse me.
Don't touch me. I'll hit you.
Don't touch her. I'm not. Stay away from her. I'm not worried.
I'm not here to harass you. I want to talk to your son and find out why he murdered my daughter.
It pisses me off that the mom didn't go public and say, I'm sorry, you know, my son's a monster, you know, he's still my son, I still love him because he's my son, but I'm sorry. I reach out to the families and apologize for his behavior. You know, she just runs, and I just think that's weak.
Leave my mom alone.
What about Gardner? Why would she let Gardner visit with Amber's mom?
She didn't let Gardner do anything. We're sorry. We're sorry. Beyond, you don't even know.
Then, just 2 days before sentencing, Carrie is granted a meeting with Gardner.
I had been coached by Escondido Police Department that if I showed rage, if I showed anger, that I wouldn't get the answers that I wanted. And so when I went in there, I had a mindset of just, I'm going in to ask the questions. And the biggest thing was, how did he get my daughter? How was he able to get Amber in his car? And when he finally told me how it happened, it made sense then.
According to Gardner, he was driving in the neighborhood at about 7 in the morning when he spotted Amber walking alone down an empty side street.
She wasn't anywhere where any of us thought she was. She was not anywhere near the school.
In an exclusive interview with 48 Hours, convicted killer John Gardner told us exactly how he abducted and murdered Amber Dubois.
I passed her driving down the street, and that's the first time that I saw her. I pulled up next to her with the windows down in the car. I had the knife out and visible, and told her that I also had a gun and to get in the car or it was going to be a lot worse. She actually looked at me in kind of shock and disbelief and asked me if I was kidding. And I raised my voice and yelled, "No, get the F in the car."
And I could see the whole thing, how she looked at him and how she was scared when she saw him.
I drove to the remote area, and on driving, I put the music on. She wanted to hear music so that she could pretend she wasn't there.
During the 40-minute ride to the Indian reservation, Gardner says a terrified Amber badgered him, begging him to let her go.
She asked me why I was doing it, what was wrong.
But she wasn't crying. She never cried. And she just kept going, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" And asking a lot of questions.
When we got up to the Paula area, I turned into like a little, it's a little plateau dirt area that was just off of that road. And that's where everything, the rest of it took place.
He took her to the location. He raped her. And then out of the blue, he doesn't know why, he just grabbed the knife, ran over and stabbed her.
For a half an hour, Carrie listened spellbound as Gardner filled in the missing pieces of her daughter's last day on Earth. But surprisingly, instead of breaking her, Carrie says it gave her strength.
So how did you feel when you left that meeting?
Great.
Felt great?
I felt great.
Because?
Because I had, in my opinion, I had complete closure. I had the answers I was looking for. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, which is something I hadn't seen for 13 months.
I'm the most dangerous type of a sexual predator. I never want to be let out. I will kill. I am the type that needs to be locked up forever.
It's sentencing day for John Gardner, and Amber's mother, Carrie, is preparing a victim impact statement for court.
All right. I'm gonna have to try to read this a million times before so I don't cry today. 15 months ago, I kissed my daughter goodbye. I don't think I can read this. I read it last night. Today, after 15 months of the most agonizing pain, worry, anger, and grief, I am supposed to address the court and put into words the impact of the criminal acts this stranger brought upon my loving daughter. I'll never forget the pain that you caused, nor the loss I feel. I'll never forget that you stole from me God's most precious gift.
For the crime of murder in the first degree of Amber Dubois, life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Just after receiving his formal life sentence, John Gardner continued his exclusive interview with us.
I'm the most dangerous type of sexual predator. I will kill. I know I will. I am the type that needs to be locked up forever.
Gardner says he's been violent since he was a child and has taken countless medicines.
I was on about 16 to 20 different medications throughout my life. Lithium, Tegretol, Melorel.
These are drugs usually prescribed to control severe psychiatric disorders. But Gardner says nothing has helped him control his rage.
I've done things to my family members. I've hurt them. I've hit people. I've beaten people. I've done a lot of things that I regret in my life and I wish I could take back, but I still do the same things over and over again. I'm on meds right now, and you can see the anger in my eyes just of trying to talk. I get angry, I blow up, I explode. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like I'm out of control of myself at times, and then I go and I do things that I regret for the rest of my life.
He claims he's haunted by the memories of his victims.
It's like torture. I hurt so many people in such a bad way, and I have to live with that knowledge.
But he has trouble saying he's remorseful.
Honestly, I do have remorse. The word remorse, I regret it completely. I don't even know what the meaning of that word remorse. I say regret. I regret everything that I've done.
I think he's a sociopath. I don't think any sociopath is capable of remorse.
San Diego DA Bonnie Dumanis believes the tears Gardner shed in the courtroom were just an act.
I think what we saw was Mr. Gardner trying to make us feel that he had remorse. And the true Gardner came out when Candace said, "How's your nose?"
I came here today to stand as a witness for Chelsea and Amber.
It was a brief but revealing moment. And it came when Candace Moncayo gave her statement in court. Candace is the jogger who survived her encounter with Gardner by punching him in the nose and outrunning him.
I came to watch as justice is served for the horrifying acts he has committed. And finally, to ask him how his nose is.
And just like that, the rage in his eyes. That's the real Gardner.
On May 17, 2010, John Gardner was transferred to Corcoran State Prison.
I'm probably gonna twiddle my thumbs in some solitary confinement and beat myself up for however long that I'm around. And eventually, it will happen, eventually. Someone will come and get to me.
But he says the sooner death comes, the better.
There'll be a release for me. I'm gonna torture myself more with the memories that I have and how much I beat myself up of it than death itself. And it's either gonna be that or I'll end up killing myself, one of the two. I can't stand to be confined. I'm like an animal, just like they said, I'm an animal.
How do you begin to move forward in this new normal of your life?
Well, I'll never forget, taking things slow, enjoying time with Allison, Amber's little sister.
Hey, baby. What's up with that? Thank you.
But remarkably, today Carrie says she's finally able to forgive the man who killed her daughter.
I have to say it's Amber making me forgive him. But I have to forgive in order to live my life. I could sit here and be angry at the world, but where's that gonna give me? Yeah. How's that gonna benefit my 7-year-old daughter that I have to raise still?
And at least for now, Dave and Carrie will be raising her together. They're in counseling and living together again.
There are times when everything is nice and mellow, and there are times that everything isn't quite so nice and mellow, and that's the way it's going to be.
We can only go one day at a time.
Pretty much it. one day at a time.
Every time you got an unsolved murder, you got somebody walking around in your community that's killed somebody.
David was just a very, very nice guy. They were just the normal, all-American young couple living next door. Well, my husband and I were asleep in bed and just startled by a series of loud thumps on the other side of the wall. It's just a sound that we'd never heard before. I said, I am going to put my ear to the wall. If I hear anything else, I am calling the police. I heard nothing, absolutely nothing. For the next hour or more, I was just still awake and restless. The next thing that happened was I heard a loud pounding on the door. And it was Melinda.
When David Harmon got murdered, I was on call that weekend.
According to police, sometime during Sunday night here on Sheridan Drive in Olathe.
My name is Paul Morrison. In 1982, I was an assistant district attorney here in Johnson County.
The intruders went into Harmon's house, awoke Mrs. Harmon.
That was the first murder scene that I'd ever seen. One of the most brutal murder scenes that I've ever seen in my career. Very, very bloody. He was disfigured so badly that the initial officers thought he'd been shot in the face with a shotgun. It traumatized a lot of people because what came out publicly was that there was this horrible home invasion. These people beat this poor guy to death in bed. It was one of those cases where you're going, you know, we don't believe this. There's more to this story than meets the eye.
This was a place where people felt that they could get away from the city, raise a family, and live a peaceful life. I think when this happened, it hit home. The people involved in this murder are members of the Nazarene Church and go to the college there. So this kind of rocked their community a lot. I'm Bill Wall. I'm a detective with the Olathe, Kansas Police Department. There are a lot of murders, but this is intriguing. It's got a bit of a sex appeal to it. We got religion, we got a lover's triangle, we got money, and we felt that it was a case that could be solved. It was 19 years old when we opened it up. When I'm reading through this case file, I think that we got a shot. I mean, eventually you gotta go knock on the door. And that was the turning point, obviously, of this case.
A knock on the door.
Today, Olathe, Kansas is a major crossroads, a fast-growing suburb of Kansas City, home to a large conservative Christian community. But back in 1982, it was just a dot on the map.
In 1982, this was a community where you didn't have to lock your doors, basically. I know that's a cliche, but there was not a lot of danger.
Andy Hoffman was a reporter for Olathe's Daily News.
The people that lived here were God-fearing. They believed in the Bible, and when this horrendous murder happened, it changed the landscape of the community.
There weren't a lot of homicides in Olathe, so the unsolved murder of David Harmon was a nightmare that stayed with them for more than 2 decades.
First time I heard about that case was maybe in the early 90s.
Bill Wall was a young patrol officer at the time.
It was always kind of a case that had never been solved, and it was kind of a legend throughout the department.
It might have stayed cold, if not for a simple request in 2001 and some new technology.
The crime lab came down, and they had some time, and they wanted to use their DNA expertise. You got any old cold cases? We had one. Look at this.
The Harmon case moved out of the evidence vault and into the hands of detectives Bill Wall and Steve James.
For us, this is uncharted territory. I mean, we really didn't have a lot of experience in opening up cold cases.
They went through all the evidence to learn what happened back in 1982.
And once we get started into it, it's so intriguing you don't want to put it down.
There were accounts from police officers, including J.W. Larrick, then 27, one of the first responders.
It was a very, very brutal crime scene.
He found David Harmon's body upstairs in the master bedroom.
It is the most gruesome crime scene that I've seen in 28 years of being a police officer. He was just massacred.
Harmon had been beaten repeatedly with a blunt object.
Blood splattered everywhere. It is on pillows, sheets. It is on a comforter, the carpet, the nightstand next to him. It's everywhere. I mean, I think this is a classic case of an overkill.
David's wife, Melinda, was the only witness. She told police 2 men, possibly black, had broken into their duplex.
She's awakened by these sounds of someone beating her husband. And then all of a sudden, she's pulled out of bed and taken downstairs. She hears one intruder say to the next, "I think you hit him too hard, you may have killed him."
She said they demanded the keys to the bank where David worked.
And that's when she's knocked unconscious.
Melinda says when she came to, she ran next door for help. Her neighbor called the police. Then Melinda asked her to call friend Mark Mangelsdorf.
It was a horrific incident. A very close friend of mine was murdered, and I was close friends both with he and his wife.
They kind of took him in. They'd have him over for dinner frequently. He'd be over there hanging out.
Their friendship began at Mid-America Nazarene College, where Melinda was a secretary.
Melinda was quite professional. She was not much older than our students.
Don Stelting was dean of students at the college and Melinda's boss.
Part of the responsibility of my office staff was to make a warm front door for the students. She was a friendly person, and she worked hard at that.
One of the students she befriended was Mark Mangelsdorf, the student body president.
He was an impressive young man, good student.
Melinda introduced Mark to her husband, David.
I mean, David was in many ways like a big brother to me. He took me under his wing.
They shared a passion for sports, business, and their church. As word of David's murder spread, it stunned Olathe's Nazarene community.
I remember when the phone call came, how unreal it was.
Pam and Don Stelting were among the first to hear the news.
I don't think we could even talk. It was such devastating news.
It shook us all very deeply because here was someone that we thought was just a perfect example of what church and the college stood for, and he was gone, his life snuffed out.
His friends at the patron state bank were shocked.
Why? Why would this happen? Why David?
Joy Hempy and Hazel Hendricks.
We didn't have murders in Olathe. And then to have it happen to a person that you worked with every day, it was very scary.
Well, at first everybody bought the story.
Paul Morrison is now the district attorney, but back in 1982,
I'm just a guppy back then, you know.
he was still learning the job.
And I think everybody thought, gosh, it's just a horrible home invasion thing here, and we got to find these guys because they're obviously extremely dangerous.
Police immediately staked out the bank in case anyone tried breaking in.
Of course, it never happened.
Stealing David's keys baffled Joy Hempy.
If they got inside the bank with the keys, all they would get would be pencils, erasers, and paper clips. You couldn't get in the vault. It was on a timer.
So those are actually his, huh?
It didn't take long for investigators to realize the pieces of the puzzle just weren't adding up.
No forced entry to the house. There was nothing else taken. Plus, the person that's able to get them access to the bank, they kill immediately. I don't think anybody was comfortable saying that first day, you know, we don't believe it, but there are eyebrows beginning to be raised about this story.
As doubts grew about Melinda Harmon's story, the focus of the investigation shifted.
And I'm sure some of those detectives back then were thinking, hey, this is not right. There's something more here.
Did they believe that Melinda Harmon was involved in her husband's murder? And they suspected she had help.
Some questions came up, and in particular, a question about this person, Mark Mangelsdorf.
They were focusing on Mark. He was being suspected for such a horrible thing. I just knew it wasn't possible.
Even after all these years, the memories are still very painful for Pam Stelting.
I thought I could talk about it without crying, but
Pam and her husband Don still can't believe Olathe police suspected Mark Mangelsdorf was involved in the murder of David Harmon.
It seemed to be an indication of very bad judgment on the part of the police. In our minds, there's someone out there who really had done this horrid murder, and why aren't they looking for them instead?
But police and prosecutors say there were no signs of intruders. Instead, all the evidence seemed to point to those closest to David, his wife Melinda and his best friend Mark. And what's more, investigators believed they knew the motive.
No one was talking on the record. Everyone in the community was talking about it off the record.
Andy Hoffman has covered the case for more than 2 decades. And what were they saying?
It's the Nazarene divorce.
I believe she did this because she couldn't get a divorce. In her mind, it was much better to be the widow Harmon than the divorcee Harmon.
District Attorney Paul Morrison believed Melinda Harmon was unhappy in her marriage and caught up in a secret affair with Mark Mangelsdorf.
It was definitely a romance.
But because of their strong religious beliefs, Morrison doubts it was sexual.
The promise of sex, the lure of sex, unfulfilled, it can be stronger than the actual thing.
The conservative Christian world they lived in had strict rules of behavior.
You didn't go to the movies, we didn't dance.
Mark Wood was a student at Mid-America Nazarene College at the time.
The old joke we used to have back then was that you don't smoke and you don't chew and you don't date the girls who do.
And when you marry for life.
Back in 1982, in the Nazarene Church, divorce was not the option that it is today. It would have not been a good thing. It would have caused a certain amount of shame and scandal.
To believe that, one would have to not know the Nazarene Church at that time. To think that someone would plan murder to avoid divorce is ludicrous.
Mark Mangelsdorf and Melinda Harmon always denied they had a romantic relationship. And at first, they cooperated with investigators. But that soon stopped, and leads dried up.
There's a lot of people that remember this case that were members of the church, members of our community. They all thought that the suspects had been identified. Why aren't we moving forward?
Investigators had a bloody murder scene, but no footprints or fingerprints, and no murder weapon. Not enough evidence to prosecute.
The question of, is that going to be provable beyond a reasonable doubt, probably wasn't quite there.
With no charges against them, Mangelsdorf and Harmon both left Olathe. Melinda Harmon headed back home to Ohio with her parents. Mark Mangelsdorf went off to Harvard Business School and became a successful corporate executive.
Definitely went on with my life, and it's not something that I really dwelled on or focused on a lot.
He and his second wife, Christina, live in a $1 million home in Pelham, just outside New York City. He's the father of 4, with one more on the way. The Mangelsdorfs sat down with 48 Hours for their only television interview.
When's the first time that you heard about this?
It was fairly shortly after we started dating, honestly. My first reaction was, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. There's no way that he could have done this, and he didn't need to give me any of the facts of the case or any assurances that he hadn't to know that, no. I mean, it's not in his personality.
The fact that the police considered me as a suspect in the course of their investigation was hurtful, and certainly leaves an impression on you.
Did you kill David Harmon?
I did not kill David Harmon.
And Mangelsdorf doesn't believe Melinda Harmon was involved either.
Melinda was my good friend, and I choose to believe that that was not in her character.
Back in Olathe, the unsolved Harmon murder had been shelved for almost 2 decades, but never forgotten.
They didn't have it on the front burner, but they did not forget about it. The community wouldn't let them forget about it.
When you read it, it's kind of a no-brainer. The suspects are identified. These people did it, and now we got to prove it.
As detectives Bill Wall and Steve James began going over the 19-year-old evidence, they found it odd that blood spatter was all across Melinda Harmon's pillowcase.
If she's laying in bed, her head should be here, right?
Right.
Should be a void.
There should be a spot.
Where there's no blood?
Where there's no blood.
With so much blood on the pillowcase, Wall and James were surprised how little blood was on Melinda and her nightgown.
You would think you would see at least some blood up in this general area up here toward the top of the nightgown.
The only blood was at the bottom of the gown.
She's standing away from the bed, and it's cast off to her.
They also had doubts about Melinda's story of being knocked out by intruders.
If she truly was knocked unconscious for that period of time, she wouldn't have remembered anything.
Evidence was mounting, but they still didn't have a case. They needed to re-interview the suspects. In December 2001, detectives Wall and James showed up at Melinda's home in Ohio.
This is our shot. We wanted to catch her cold.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
What happens?
Knock on the door. She answers.
And what happened next would forever change the course of this case.
Had she not let you in, where would we be today?
We would not be sitting here today.
When Melinda Harmon left Olathe, Kansas in 1982, she never looked back. She moved to this Columbus, Ohio suburb and started over.
This is an upscale neighborhood, a very nice house. She's living a pretty good life here.
Known here as Melinda Rash, she's a soccer mom with 2 children, married to a successful dentist, active in her community and her church.
Everyone thought that Melinda Rash was a perfect person, the great neighbor, just doing everything right.
So when detectives Bill Wall and Steve James showed up out of the blue at the Rash home in 2001, they didn't expect her to talk to them.
Steve and I both thought that she's probably going to say, hey, I left that back in Olathe, you're going to have to talk to my attorneys, something along those lines, but she didn't.
Instead, she invited them in.
It's beyond what I expected to happen.
As they sat in her kitchen, Rash told the detectives about the night her first husband, David Harmon, was murdered.
She says that she was awakened by these horrifying sounds of someone striking her husband. She sees a shadowy figure, and she runs to the bathroom.
This isn't the same story as 2 decades ago.
This is definitely not the same story. What happened to the 2 black guys that broke in demanding bank keys? What happened to, I think you hit him too hard, you may have killed him? None of that.
She doesn't remember the lie she told.
For 19 years, detectives had waited for this kind of break.
I accused her. I said, I know you killed him. Either you killed him or he did.
What did she say?
Well, I assure you it wasn't me.
And Melinda didn't stop there. Instead of ending the conversation or calling her lawyer, she kept talking.
She wanted to please us. She didn't want her neighbors to be talked to about this. I don't think she ever shared with anybody about what happened in 1982.
She just wanted you to go away.
Absolutely. And she thought she could manipulate us to get us to go away.
But they didn't go away. In fact, after 3 hours, Rash agreed to continue talking at the sheriff's department. Only now the interrogation would be videotaped. Because he'd established a rapport with Rash, Detective Bill Wall conducted the interview.
Talked for 3 or 4 hours out at your house.
I'm sorry, I should have offered you a drink at the house.
Sorry.
I'm usually a very good hostess.
Investigators had always believed Melinda Harmon Rash and Mark Mangelsdorf conspired to murder David Harmon so they could be together. Now Bill Wall needed details of their romance to prove motive.
She said they were friends at first, were friends. Well, later on, as their relationship blossomed, she said that there became an emotional bond between the 2 of them.
You shared innermost, deepest feelings.
In a way that is inappropriate.
Right. You should have been sharing with your husband, probably.
Right.
She said that her feelings were inappropriate and that her husband, David, would definitely not approve.
But according to Rash, Mangelsdorf wanted more.
Did he ever come out and say, I love you, I want to have sex with you?
I would say so.
He said that?
I would say so.
She told me that she got the impression he wanted her to get a divorce.
There were innuendos made. Okay.
Innuendos made about what?
About had life been different.
He didn't like the fact that you were married.
Right.
With their romance established, Bill Wall now needed Rash to connect Mark Mangelsdorf to the murder.
If you did not kill him, you know who did. And we've been down that road. And now you're trying to lead me to believe.
Well, I know in my heart.
You know in your heart what?
Yes.
That Mark did it?
In my heart, I know that.
She told Wall she didn't see Mangelsdorf that night, but sensed his presence.
Where was the presence coming from?
The stairs.
Why is she saying she felt Mangelsdorf's presence rather than I saw him bludgeon my husband?
I just don't think she wanted to go there yet. She knew if she said that, then that would implicate her further.
So she's holding back?
Absolutely.
Rash wanted to know the consequences before giving up any more information.
I don't know where I stand.
So there is a little more here.
There's a little more.
But we just want to get a little deal here before we go forward.
Yeah, because I don't.
You need to know what consequences.
Yeah, I need to know where I stand.
Bill Wall called District Attorney Paul Morrison in Olathe.
I, like everybody else, was shocked that she talked to him.
And told him Rash wanted to discuss a deal.
I remember telling Wall that I wasn't going to buy a pig in a poke because we didn't know exactly what she had to offer. That in my opinion, she had already made some serious admissions. So let's not make any deals today that we might regret later.
After almost 2 decades of frustration, Morrison finally had a toehold. But it would take 2 more years of poring over every piece of evidence to make a case.
You've got no statute of limitations on a murder case. So we have the luxury of making sure that we got our ducks all lined up as straight as we could before we went into battle.
In 2003, with those ducks lined up, Melinda Harmon Rash was finally arrested and charged with her husband's murder. The news stunned Mark Mangelsdorf.
It did surprise me. It caught me off guard. I thought that this thing had potentially run its course, and it, of course, had not.
Well, I know in my heart.
You know in your heart what? That Mark did it?
Melinda Rash's news story of the murder was the end for Mark and Christina Mangelsdorf's quiet life in Pelham, New York.
It was just about exactly 10 o'clock, and the phone rang, and Mark answered it. The person just said, you know, this is Detective Hines from the Pelham Police Department. Could you come downstairs, please? And we knew what they were there for.
Living with a cloud of suspicion for 23 years, Mark Mangelsdorf knew this day could come. But for Christina, there was no preparing for what happened next.
The minute Mark opened the front door, I mean, there they were, and the handcuffs were on him like that, and they walk him off within about 30 seconds. And I was busy looking at the detective saying, wait, you know, can I kiss him goodbye? What do I do now?
Mark Mangelsdorf was arrested and escorted back to Kansas to face murder charges for the 1982 slaying of his close friend, David Harmon. He was charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder, the same charges Rash is facing. Just 1 week after Mangelsdorf's arrest, Melinda Rash goes on trial for the murder of her first husband. By her side, showing support, is her current husband. In spite of the dramatic interrogation tapes, prosecutor Paul Morrison knows getting a conviction after 23 years will be tough.
About 2:33 a.m., David Harmon was beaten to death in his bed.
He begins by setting out to establish a motive for the crime.
Her world revolved around the church. Divorce was an unthinkable option. You've got that sort of perverted thinking about that not being an option, and it manifests itself in what most of us would consider to be the unthinkable, and that is that you kill him.
Morrison sets out to prove a case largely built on circumstantial evidence. Evidence of an alleged love affair.
They were just standing very close together.
And lies. First, Rash said she was in bed while her husband was being beaten to death, but prosecutors show her pillow covered in blood. Then there is her claim she was knocked out for more than an hour.
That didn't fit at all, and in fact, she didn't have any real injuries other than a tiny bruise on her cheek.
Prosecutors begin unraveling Rash's story of what happened that night, weaving a different story.
There was about 20 cards and letters from Melinda Harmon to Mark Mangelsdorf.
Prosecutors produce a stack of cards and letters found in Mark Mangelsdorf's apartment, suggesting signs of an intimate relationship.
These were just signed either Melinda or love Melinda or I love you, Melinda, that type of thing.
As the evidence mounts, it is the 2001 police videotape that cements the case against her and Mark Mangelsdorf.
You had to know that was him.
In my heart, I know it's him.
As prosecutors slowly built their case, Rash's defense team knew they had to confront the allegations of an affair and murder head on. To do that, they turned to the person at the center of this case to testify, But it was not their client, Melinda Rash, they called to the stand. It was Mark Mangelsdorf.
I plan to tell the jury the truth, just exactly as I told the police 23 years ago.
And for the first time in 23 years, Mark Mangelsdorf and Melinda Rash are together again. This time, the only thing they are sharing is the charge of murder.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Mangelsdorf's testimony is crucial for Rash's defense, and ultimately his own. The defense wants to show Mangelsdorf is not capable of murder, and that he and Rash couldn't have conspired to commit such a crime.
I felt that it would be an opportunity for me to tell the truth, to potentially assist in uncovering the truth for the jury, giving them full information, full facts.
Mark Mangelsdorf's defense attorney, Mickey Sherman, says it's a gamble worth taking, even though anything Mangelsdorf says could be used against him.
Why were you so willing to have him testify?
Truth is the truth. I felt that I'd rather put him on the witness stand now and let the jury, let the world know what his recollection was, rather than have this cloud over his head.
Questioned by Rash's defense attorney, Tom Bath, Mangelsdorf answers questions point blank about accusations of an affair.
Mr. Mangelsdorf, were you having an affair with Melinda?
No, I absolutely was not.
Were you romantically involved with her?
No.
Were you physical in any kind of sexual way with her?
No, I was not physical with her. Melinda Harmon was my friend.
And how about David Harmon?
David Harmon was also my friend.
And did you kill David Harmon?
I did not kill David Harmon.
Mangelsdorf looks calm on the stand, even under tough cross-examination from prosecutor Paul Morrison.
Are you aware of the fact that she said it was an emotionally inappropriate, intimate relationship?
I'm aware that she made that statement.
Were you aware of the fact that she said that you told her, I want to have sex with you?
I read that statement as well.
Were you aware of the fact that she said she thinks you killed David Harmon?
I don't know the specific words, but I did view the tape, and so I'm...
You're aware of that, yes?
Yes.
How did he do on the witness stand?
You know, I thought he did fantastic. We all thought he did fantastic.
For defense attorney Mickey Sherman, this was a dress rehearsal. He got to see how his client will do as a witness. But true crime writer Andy Hoffman believes Mangelsdorf taking the stand may not have been the best defense for Rash or for himself.
There was no feelings of sorrow for David. You know, no, it was all just rehearsed, and I'm in here and I'm going to walk my way out of here and I'm not showing any emotion. I think you really saw Mark Mangelsdorf as Mark Mangelsdorf, totally controlled, totally sure of himself, but something's wrong there.
Melinda Rash never took the stand or spoke publicly about the murder of her husband. After nearly 3 weeks of testimony and over 60 witnesses, Rash's trial comes to a close. After 2 days, the jury reaches a verdict.
The court will read the verdict of the jury. On count 1, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder. On count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of conspiracy to commit murder.
Did Mark help or hurt her on the stand?
He hurt her. If they believed him, they wouldn't have convicted her.
Out on bail, Mark Mangelsdorf was at home with his wife Christina when they learned of Rash's fate.
When you saw the word guilty, what was your reaction?
I think surprised and disappointed.
You thought she was innocent?
Yes.
Christina believes the outcome will be different for her husband.
It wasn't like we looked at this and said, oh my gosh, the same thing is going to happen to Mark. I mean, there's still a confidence that it's a very different case and that Mark will ultimately be found innocent.
As Mangelsdorf now starts to prepare for his own trial, Melinda Rash, facing life in prison, sits in a Kansas County jail awaiting sentencing. But as he will learn, she's not sitting quietly. Here in Olathe, Kansas, Melinda Rash is behind bars, facing life in prison for the murder of her husband, David Harmon. Back in Pelham, New York, Mark Mangelsdorf begins to prepare for his trial, confident a jury will find him innocent.
When they see the evidence as it's presented, we think they'll come to the same conclusion that we know is the reality, that I'm innocent.
I believe in Mark, and I believe that a jury will believe in Mark, both in his innocence and his character.
Defense attorney Mickey Sherman is on the offensive.
What's your best evidence?
Mark Mangelsdorf getting on the stand and telling the story, and the lack of such a story on the part of the state.
While Sherman makes his plans for Mangelsdorf's defense, he's unaware Melinda Rash is making plans of her own.
You begin to think about your children, I think. You begin to think about your future.
Writer Andy Hoffman.
And you begin to think, oh my God, I'm convicted and I'm facing life in prison. What can I do?
With few choices, Rash makes a stunning move and turns to prosecutor Paul Morrison, looking to make a deal. In exchange for a lighter sentence, she says she'll finally tell the truth of what happened that night her husband was brutally murdered. Melinda Rash admits for the first time she took part in the murder of her husband, David Harmon. And she says she did it with Mark Mangelsdorf's help. It sounds like a big break for the prosecution, but it could be a bigger break for the defense.
I think it's going to be great fodder for the defense. She told a lie in '82. She told half-truths in 2001. She was convicted in 2005. And now, facing life in prison, she's going to come clean and tell the truth. Well, do you believe her?
How concerned are you about her testimony?
Well, I could put on a big act and say it's no big deal because she's lied before, but of course I'm concerned.
The usually confident Mickey Sherman knows this could be trouble.
I mean, this is someone who is obviously going to implicate him, and her credibility, her believability is going to make a great difference in whether or not Mark Mangelsdorf is going to be convicted or acquitted.
There we go. The stakes are high. If convicted, Mangelsdorf, now a father of 5, could spend the rest of his life in prison. In February 2006, appearing in court for a pretrial hearing, Mark Mangelsdorf shocks everyone with a statement of his own.
Mr. Mangelsdorf does plead guilty and agrees that he did participate in this crime.
After 24 years of maintaining his innocence, Mark Mangelsdorf now admits he helped kill his close friend, David Harmon.
I felt that it was time for me to plead guilty and to get this behind us.
By his side is his wife, Christina.
I love my husband, and he is the best husband and the best father that he can be, and we're going to be there for him.
During the summer of 1981, the two kissed for the first time in the family room of the duplex.
Pleading to second-degree murder, Mangelsdorf stands there while prosecutor Paul Morrison reads Melinda Rash's confession.
The week before the homicide, Mangelsdorf informed Melinda that he had purchased a weapon, specifically a crowbar, with which to murder David Harmon. He indicated that the time for the homicide was getting closer.
And in the confession, Melinda Rash related a chilling scene. At her husband's funeral, Mark Mangelsdorf whispered in Rash's ear he got rid of the murder weapon. Remarkably, for a couple who now admits they committed this brutal murder to have a relationship, it was the last time they were together.
And she was ready to testify that during this relationship that she had with Mark Mangelsdorf, during their discussions of how they were going to end up together, her and Mark, that for her it came down to the fact that she chose murder over the social stigma of divorce.
Bottom line is that she was just one of the factors which we all considered in deciding whether or not Mark should plead guilty. Mark finally made the call himself. He wanted to get on with his life. He saw the possibilities of conviction, he saw the possibilities of acquittal, and elected to plead guilty.
All rise. On May 12, 2006, in 2 separate hearings, Mark Mangelsdorf and Melinda Rasch are sentenced for the horrific murder of David Harmon.
I do not suggest that this punishment is equivalent to the crime itself. No punishment could be.
They are both sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison.
To the Harmon family, words do not adequately express the things that feel in my heart. Just words are not enough. I'm horrified beyond words that I was ever connected to this. And I knew the minute it happened that it was wrong. For that, I'm very, very, very sorry.
I have pled guilty to this. I've acknowledged my involvement. I'm truly, truly sorry for David's death and for the loss of the time that you've experienced not being able to spend time with him.
Mr. Harmon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
But for David's father, John, Melinda and Mark's apologies will never be enough.
Melinda, I hold you more responsible than Mark. You as a wife could have called a halt to the entire plot at any time. Mark, you're not only a murderer, you're also a thief. You took our one and only child in a vicious, not just normal, a vicious attack and act of violence. You conned everybody while you were living a lie for over 20 years.
It took 24 years, but for this small town of Olathe, Kansas, the memory of a haunting murder can finally be laid to rest. And for David Harmon, a 24-year-old injustice has come to an end.
This is one of those cases that haunt you. It's about 2 missing women that disappeared at the same time.
In 1982, my sister Amy Hurst and her husband Bill moved to Florida.
When I was 9 years old, my mother left, and I always wondered why.
All of a sudden, she stopped calling, and when she didn't call my mother on her birthday, we knew something was wrong.
The other young woman that went missing was Wendy Huggy. She was 17 years old.
Wendy's mother, Susan, was a Playboy bunny. My name is Angeline Chester, and I worked with her. She flew on Hugh Hefner's plane. She was a jet setter. So Wendy might have felt rejected by her mother, and they fought a lot.
She said she wanted to go to Florida and stay with Grandma and Grandpa, and she knew that they could help her out. She went to a party and disappeared from there.
2 women missing for 30 years. Where do you start? Now, at that time, we had a serial killer in the area. His thing was to kidnap women, take them out on a boat, put them in the water alive, tied to a cement block, and let them drown and die.
September 5th, 1982. What happened out here?
A fisherman found a body floating in the Gulf of Mexico. This body was weighted down with 1 concrete block.
Oh boy. You can see how far offshore she had drifted.
It had no face. It was badly decomposed, and there was no way to identify it.
Was this Amy? Was this Wendy?
The body itself was wrapped in a homemade-looking Afghan.
Then there was the Afghan. It had very distinctive markings. This led us to another suspect. One that's still out there. I think we're about to find him. The cases are connected. We couldn't have solved one without the other, and we're not done yet. Someone thinks they got away with murder. No way. My concerns are danger.
More than 30 years after Amy Hurst and Wendy Huggie disappeared, Detective Lisa Shoneman is about to make an arrest.
We had received information that he did carry a gun.
She's tracked her suspect from Florida to Michigan, finally hitting pay dirt here in the backwoods town of Dawson Springs, Kentucky. And her fugitive knows she's here.
And he told his friend that if I had pushed him any further, that he was going to take the gun out and shoot.
This doesn't seem to faze you.
Well, of course, I'm going to be cautious. I don't want to take any unnecessary risks.
But this case means a lot to Shoneman. Why is your heart in cold cases?
Because they're the hardest. You know, they're the toughest. When I do bring closure to a family, there's nothing better than that.
Unless, perhaps, it's two cold cases, intertwined. That's what she's juggling now. Two victims, two distraught families, two eerily similar situations, forever linked. Both began some 30 years ago in Pasco County, Florida, Shoneman's home turf. The first to go missing was a 16-year-old girl named Wendy Huggie, who vanished in April of 1982.
Wendy Huggie was a beautiful 5'8", 5'9" blonde girl who came to Florida to visit her grandparents and to live here. And she'd only been here for a short time. Her grandparents were going to pick her up at Countryside Mall. They got a phone call from her, and she said, "You don't need to pick me up. Dawn's going to bring me home."
Dawn?
Dawn, whoever that is, unfortunately, we don't know. She never arrived home.
And that's the last anybody has seen or heard of Wendy Huggie.
Anybody that's ever seen or heard.
Oh, as my darling girl.
Patty Sprague is Wendy's aunt.
She was just a girl. She was just a regular little girl.
Patty says Wendy moved to Florida from Chicago in part to get away from her mother, Susan, Patty's sister.
I know she didn't always get along with her mother. I know they fought. Who doesn't?
Susan, who died a few years ago, was a single mom and a Playboy bunny, which apparently aggravated the usual problems between teenager and mother.
Well, it definitely did not involve what people usually think it involves.
Angela Chester, who worked with Susan in the Chicago Playboy Club, says Wendy had no reason to object. The job was basically that of a waitress, but in a costume. Certainly not the same thing as a Playboy playmate.
The difference is that a bunny is an employee, we have a uniform, a playmate is nude. And they're in the centerfold. Doesn't make them bad, it just means that that's the difference.
In any case, Susan soon was promoted to flight attendant on Playboy founder Hugh Hefner's private plane. That meant lots of travel and even more problems with Wendy.
The fact that she was gone, maybe she thought that she didn't care about her.
But Angie says Susan was, in fact, a devoted mother.
She was always concerned about her.
In Chicago, Wendy often stayed with Susan's parents. And when they moved to Florida, the 16-year-old who had dropped out of high school was quick to follow.
She just wanted, I guess, come down here and start over. She was going to go back to school, and she was very excited about going to work.
Her new job in a fast food restaurant was to have started on April 8, 1982. She disappeared the day before.
2 days later, the grandparents got very concerned, and they came here to the sheriff's office and reported her missing.
The Pasco County Police investigation turned up neither the friends from the mall nor the mysterious Don. But it did stumble across one fact that stopped the investigation cold. Wendy Huggy was married.
Under the criteria, that made her an adult. If you're an adult and you want to go missing and there's nothing to lead us to believe that you're a harm to yourself or somebody harmed you, you can go missing.
This is a teenager. Who cares if she's married? She's still missing.
I agree with you, but for whatever reasons, he took her out of the system.
With the case in effect closed, neither the husband nor anyone else was actively investigated. That infuriates Wendy Huggy's uncle, Robert Richards, but as a former cop, he understands why.
I don't think they had a whole lot to go on. Florida has a pretty high transient population. People come and go, and the people that make people disappear can come and go.
What seemed to be the handiwork of one of those people surfaced not long after Wendy went missing. Here off the Florida coast in the Gulf of Mexico, about 5 months after Wendy Huggy disappeared, a fisherman spotted something odd in the water. He soon realized to his horror that he was looking at a dead body. He left it right where it was and immediately called the Coast Guard.
When I first saw the body, all you could see were blue jeans and bare feet.
Greg Stout was on the Coast Guard boat sent to the scene.
The body itself was wrapped in a homemade-looking Afghan in a real bright green bedspread.
Was this the body of Wendy Huggy, the teenager so excited about her future and her new life? Whoever it was, her killer probably had been confident she would never be seen again.
Then there was rope around the waist of the body, and then you could look down in this clear water and you could actually see a concrete block floating below.
The body found in the Gulf of Mexico in September of 1982 was 27 miles offshore, carried out by the tide.
It's kind of floating like a cork.
The Coast Guard couldn't pinpoint where the body went in, but theorized it might have been near what's now the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. It had been in the water about a week, rising to the surface as it decomposed, despite the concrete block tied around the waist.
The medical examiner was pretty sure that there was blunt trauma to the back of the head. They also thought that she was actually alive when she was tossed in the water.
Was there any way, if anybody had known who the relatives were, could they have identified this person?
No, not at all. If you put a body in water over a period of time, it's really the worst condition that you can find a body.
Still, the victim's family might have recognized personal effects, as well as that green bedspread and that distinctive Afghan. Which was she wrapped in first, the bedspread or
the bedspread first, and then the Afghan was on the outside.
Wendy Huggy had gone missing about 5 months before this body was found. Is there any indication at all that an attempt was made to determine if this might be Wendy Huggy?
Not that I'm aware of.
There was, remember, no ongoing investigation. So Wendy's family never saw the bedspread, Afghan, or the jewelry. Never even knew a body had been found. An oversight that decades later would help solve a crime. The unidentified body ended up here, in this Tampa cemetery, in the Potter's Field section, in an unmarked grave known only as Jane Doe 82120. It would be years before Jane Doe's true identity was known, and then only because of the heartache of another family, a family some 1,200 miles away. Just outside Flint, Michigan, in 1982, the family of a woman named Amy Hurst was coping with her sudden disappearance. Amy Hurst also went missing in Florida about the same time and in the same county as Wendy Huggy. The two women's descriptions were similar, but Hurst was older, 29, and a mother of 2.
Oh gosh, Amy was full of energy. She was a wonderful mother.
Laura Champagne was Amy's niece.
She just loved her kids to pieces and was very devoted to them.
which made it all the more shocking that spring when Amy announced she and her new husband Bill were moving out of state, leaving her kids with her ex-husband.
They just came up to the house and said that she was going to Florida and she was going to, we would be able to go down there and see her. She'd be back to visit us.
Amy's son Jeff was 8, her daughter Lisa then 10.
And I can remember her talking about us coming down for Christmas and for Easter and stuff like that.
She just said bye and she left.
I didn't care much for Bill.
Amy's sister Sharon blamed the move on Amy's second husband Bill.
He drank a lot.
And Bill was abusive.
When were you first aware that there was actual domestic violence involved here?
I saw the bruises, and there was one incident that I witnessed where he hit her in front of me. I never understood with Amy why she stayed in that kind of a relationship. She didn't need to.
Amy and Bill settled in Newport Richey in Pasco County, Florida. Bill got a job as a truck driver. Amy worked in a grocery store. At first, she kept in close touch with her family.
I had a whole shoebox, as a matter of fact, full of letters.
And Amy always called her mother on her birthday, until that year.
When my grandma's birthday came and went, and Amy didn't call, my grandma got on the phone to all of us, and something's wrong.
And that's when I called the Pasco County Sheriff's Department. They called me back the next day and said they went out to check, and Bill was there, and they asked him about Amy. And he said that they got in a fight 3 days earlier and she left.
They contact her work. They find out that she's not been to work. Nobody's heard from her. Nobody's seen her.
Bill Hurst was a suspect in Amy's disappearance from the very start.
Everybody knew that he had something to do with it.
His actions only seemed to confirm it.
They did ask him if he would take a lie detector test, and he said he would. But when the police showed up the next day, he was already gone. He left in the night.
And just as in Wendy Huggy's case, the Hearst investigation stalled before it even began. This time because of a clerical error involving her maiden name, Amy Rose.
And when her sisters reported her missing, they reported her as Amy Rose, not Amy Hurst.
Her sisters contacted police, but no one ever changed the records. A simple mistake that had disastrous results.
We kept making inquiries over the years and, really getting the runaround, not really getting any answers.
And did you at any point just acknowledge, even privately, that in all probability we're not going to see Amy again?
Yeah. I knew Amy would not go that long without talking to her kids. That is not Amy.
As for Bill Hurst,
at one point they had found traces of him in one of the New England states. And then after that, it just kind of fell off and nobody did anything about it.
But 20 years later, a new suspect surfaced.
Unfortunately, there was a lot of female bodies that were being recovered in this area.
Were Amy Hurst and Wendy Huggy both victims of a serial killer? For years, Amy Hurst's family clung to the hope that as long as no body had been found, there still was a possibility Amy was alive, somewhere. Amy's son, Jeff.
I always thought for the longest time that she started a new life, maybe. And then one day she would just show up.
Amy's sister, Sharon, was sure of it.
I remember one time I was driving and I looked in my rearview mirror and I could have swore the person in the car behind me was her. I opened my car door and jumped out of my car, and I thought, how stupid, But, you always hope.
It was much the same for Wendy Huggy's family. Her uncle, Robert Richards, says that in the decades after the 16-year-old's disappearance, her distraught mother, Susan, barely could bring herself to mention her daughter's name.
I think she had some of the guilt of, maybe I could have kept her here. maybe I could have changed jobs sooner and been at home more. It was not something that she liked to talk about.
Wendy's aunt, Patty Sprague.
It was devastating.
But I would think at any sort of family gathering, this is sort of the elephant in the room, right?
You're always aware that she's not there. You know, when you have Christmas and
birthdays.
And birthdays.
In 2001, Wendy would have celebrated her 36th birthday. About that time, some 20 years after she went missing, a Pasco County cop decided to take a fresh look at this very cold case. His name was Robert Ham.
He became fascinated with it, and then to the point of obsessed. I mean, he was determined to find Wendy.
Ham soon unearthed the 1982 report of the body found in the Gulf. In his heart, he knew he was onto something.
Now, at that time, we had a serial killer in the area, Oba Chandler. His thing was to kidnap women, take them out on a boat, put them in the water alive, tied to a cement block, and let them drown and die. And I thought, oh my gosh, it has to be Wendy. He was convinced that she had been kidnapped and she was another victim of his.
But from death row, Oba Chandler refused to talk to Bobby Ham, and eventually Chandler was executed. His silence didn't stop Ham. He retrieved Wendy Huggy's dental records and asked the medical examiner's office to exhume the body.
The grave is right over here?
Yes.
So the exhumation takes place, everybody thinks that they know who this is already.
Oh, Bobby was so sure. He was telling everybody, this is Wendy. I've done it. I found her. It's going to be her.
Right.
And unfortunately, it wasn't. He kept trying until he passed away. He kept trying to find her. He didn't give up. I mean, he was devastated. He was discouraged, but he continued to try. And after he was gone, I've continued to try.
But for all their efforts, the identity of the body dug up from Potter's Field remained a mystery.
But there's a good side to that story. Because she was exhumed, now we can get DNA. Well, the medical examiner did some DNA testing, and they had a recreation of her, what she may look like, done, and placed her on the Doe network.
As in John and Jane Doe. The network is set up to locate the missing and identify the dead. Information about the exhumed body, information Bobby Ham dug up in his failed search for Wendy, sat there unnoticed until years later when Amy Hearst's son Jeff went online searching for clues about his mother.
He was having a really hard time his whole life, not knowing what happened to his mother, and one day decided, that's it, I've got to do something, and I've got to know I tried. I've got to know what happened.
In 2009, 27 years after his mother Amy disappeared, Jeff stumbled across the Doe Network website with its description of the body in the Gulf. The artist's rendering didn't look familiar, but something else on the website did.
What did you see on there that piqued your interest right away?
The bedspread.
Jeff and his sister Lisa had loved bouncing on it as children.
The bedspread. Anything else?
Turquoise jewelry. An Afghan.
The Afghan really hit home.
The Afghans are a big part of our family. My grandmother made everybody Afghans. And my mom made them, and my aunts made them. Everybody made them.
And one of them had been wrapped around the body in the Gulf. Amy's sister was sure of that the second she saw the description on the website.
It's made of multicolors. It's basically white, but my mother would take all her leftover pieces of yarn and she would make the little squares out of them. And we have numerous Afghans that we all have still today. And all those same colors are in this Afghan.
This is the Afghan that Amy's mother made for her, and that was wrapped around the bedspread, that was wrapped around her body.
You can see why that's something that you would recognize.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's very distinctive.
Yes.
And each of the sisters had one of these?
Yes.
No one in Amy Hurst's family needed any more evidence.
When I saw the Afghans next to her, I was 100% sure.
We knew then that it was her.
Despite their certainty, the Afghan and jewelry didn't prove this was Amy Hurst. For that, Shawneman needed hard evidence, and she would find it in, of all places, Potter's Field, where, fatefully, the Hurst and Huggy cases would intersect. The body, dug up in 2001, the body that was not Wendy Huggy. Would DNA prove it was Amy Hurst? Tests and analysis to match it to Jeff's DNA took 2 years. I would have thought you'd be pretty frustrated.
I was.
Why did it take so long?
There's so much backlog DNA, and it just waited and waited and waited and waited.
In July of 2011, an excited Detective Shawneman called Jeff with the results.
She just says, "Are you sitting down?" I was like, "Do I need to be?" And she says, "I don't know, you might want to."
It's her, Jeff. We found her. It's her.
It wasn't good news at all. I mean, but it was good news for me to know that we knew where she was at.
And I just started shaking. Just shaking.
He called me, and we cried together. You were glad to know that you had an answer, but then it was permanent, you know. It was like she just died, because you just found out to you she had just died.
After 30 years, there was no longer any question Amy Hurst had been murdered. And for Amy's family, no question who did it.
We knew absolutely it was Bill.
But we have no way to prove it.
I thought he would get away with it.
Amy Hurst's killer had gone unpunished for 30 years, only to be tripped up by a very stupid mistake.
When we confirmed that she was murdered and where she was found, it could be nobody but Bill, especially when she was found with the blankets off her own bed.
You don't go off with somebody that kills you and then they bring you home and wrap you in your own blankets to dispose of your body. You were at home when you were murdered. And it doesn't take a great detective to figure that out.
Now, all this detective had to do was find him. Did you at that point know where Bill Hurst was?
I thought he was in Michigan. I went to see his sister, who still lived up there. And she told me where he was at.
She even agreed to call him.
She said, "Bill, the police have been here. They found Amy's body. What did you do?"
You wanted to make him nervous.
Of course. What happens when you get nervous?
You make mistakes.
Yes, you did.
Hurst had been living here in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, a small town in the western part of the state, once the home to the imperial clans of America. But if he thought his neighbors would stick up for him in his time of need, he was sadly mistaken. Elmer Cruz, a retired tool and die maker, was a close friend. What did you think of him? What was he like?
He just seemed like one of the guys, you know. I mean, he drank a lot, but so do a lot of people, you know.
Did he tell you he'd been married?
He told me that he had a girlfriend named Amy, but he said just all of a sudden she got up and left.
After his sister told him the cops were on his trail, Hurst called Elmer.
Yeah, he sounded really, really down and really bad, and so I went over there.
And heard a shocking admission.
My past has finally caught up with me. He said, I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life if they don't execute me. I thought I'd got away with it, but he said, evidently, he said, I think they found the body. And then I thought, whoa.
I get to town, I contact the local police department, which were great. Not a lot happens in their town, so this really excited them.
Turns out Captain Craig Patterson already had his eye on Hurst for allegedly selling prescription drugs. But the idea that he had murdered somebody and put their body in the Gulf of Mexico was not something
No, that was not anything that I would have guessed in 100 years.
So where did the break in this come?
The break came when Elmer Cruz walked into the police department here and said, Bill Hurst told me he disposed of a body a long time ago and it had caught up with him, we knew. Here's our break. We've got to go now.
They hatched a plan to trick Hurst. Elmer would go back up to his house with a surprise.
Wait a minute. Elmer agrees to wear a wire?
Yeah.
Why do you think he did?
Because he said it wasn't right to kill somebody.
I would not let anybody get away with murder. It's that simple.
48 Hours obtained the tape of their extraordinary conversation.
I'm not worried about it too much. They're trying to say I took this body out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico and dumped it. I didn't have access to a boat.
Well, out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, it would have never been found anyway.
Hurst is nervous and wants reassurance.
Like I said, if they had any hard evidence, they'd arrest me when they came to the door. But they don't, so they have no way of proving that I had anything to do with anything. They can't, there's no eyewitnesses. I made sure of that.
Based on Elmer's tapes, a grand jury indicted William Hurst for first-degree murder a few weeks later. It had been 29 years since the murder, and now it was time for an arrest. Shoneman was leaving nothing to chance. Hurst had become a recluse, hunkered down in his house.
He wasn't coming out, he was barricading himself in there.
And he was heavily armed.
He had a .45 that he had bought, a pistol, and they had bought a .380 and a couple of rifles.
You'll always have to worry about that, but you can't let it stop you. If I let that stop me, I'd never make an arrest, and, I just have to be prepared for it.
A SWAT team was hiding outside, almost ready to pounce, when Hurst's dog did them a huge favor.
He cared enough about the dog when it got tangled and couldn't reach its water that he left the seclusion of the house to come out and untangle him.
And that's when they grabbed him?
Yes, yes. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not make any statements or answer any questions. Do you understand those rights?
48 Hours was at the station when Hurst was questioned. He did not ask for a lawyer.
I have a reason to arrest you for your wife's murder, but I would like also to hear your side of the story. Do you want to tell me that, your side of the story?
Well, all I can tell you is I didn't kill her.
If you didn't kill her, how'd she die and how'd she end up in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico?
That's about as much as I want to say right now.
He still doesn't specifically ask for a lawyer, and Detective Shoneman plows right on.
And I know you were there when she died, and I know you got rid of her body. Yeah. I'd like to know why.
Hurst tells her, blaming Amy for what happened.
She went to kick me. And when she kicked me, her foot slipped and she fell and she hit her head on the back of the concrete floor.
Was it just the one time she hit her head? Did she bleed, or what happened?
I didn't notice any bleeding, and I panicked, and I didn't know what to do.
All just a terrible accident, he says.
And I rolled her in the blanket, and I did dispose of the body. I'm guilty of.
Well, where did you use a boat to do it, or?
No, off Sunshine Sky Bridge.
Why didn't you just call the police, Bill?
I don't know. I just panicked out. I don't know why. I know I should have done that, but I don't know why I didn't. I just wigged out, and I didn't know what to do. So I couldn't, for the life of me, because that woman I loved with all my heart, I couldn't bring to bear the fact that she had passed.
Hurst almost seems to think he deserves sympathy.
Are they going to release me to go back to my house, or what?
Oh, no, Bill. We'll have to arrest buddy. You've been charged for first-degree murder, and you're going to be staying in custody.
With Hurst behind bars, Shoneman makes the call she's been looking forward to for years, to Amy Hurst's son, Jeff.
Jeff, guess what? It's over, dude. It's all over. He's in custody. He's been charged with your mother's murder.
No kidding.
That was a great call. I didn't tell them I was going. I didn't tell them what I was doing initially because I didn't want them to be disappointed.
Please be seated.
This is State of Florida versus William Hurst.
But disappointment may be coming. Before trial, a judge rules that most of Shoneman's interrogation can't be used as evidence, all because of one sentence.
That's about as much as I want to say right now.
The judge found that because he said he didn't want to talk about it, that he had implied his right to remain silent, so he didn't allow my conversation to be heard by the jury.
But without Hurst's candid admissions of how Amy died, how he rolled her body in the Afghan, how he dropped her off the bridge, what would a jury decide? It's been 30 years since both Wendy Huggy and Amy Hurst disappeared. Wendy's fate is still unknown. But in searching for clues about Wendy, Detective Lisa Shoneman solved the mystery of Amy. The final chapter now about to be written in a Florida courtroom.
Ladies and gentlemen, just like every good book has a title, this story has a title. The title is I Almost Got Away With It.
So begins the prosecution's case against William Hurst, charged with first-degree murder in the death of his wife, Amy. For Amy's family, the trial is a necessary but painful ordeal.
Sitting in that courtroom, 20 feet from this guy.
That was hard to do. I couldn't look at him when I was on the stand.
I didn't look at him either.
I stared at him the whole time I testified. I had to look him in the eye. Laura Ann Champagne. Amy is my aunt.
Family members recount Hurst's physical abuse of Amy.
Amy and Bill were arguing back and forth, yelling. Bill told her to shut up, and he backhanded her across the face.
Black eyes, fat lips. I saw him hit her with an iron skillet. He threw her through a shower enclosure into a bathtub and down a flight of stairs.
You recall this as a kid.
Oh, yeah. That was one that you don't ever forget.
Did you ever recall Mr. Hurst threatening to kill your mom?
Yes.
Hurst's defense is not a surprise.
This death was an accident. She tried to kick him. She fell. She hit her head. She died accidentally, and that is not a murder.
There were 2 gashes to the back of the head. They're right here and here.
On the left side of her head, there was another marked contusion, somewhere over here.
But to medical examiner Dr. Russell Vega, the multiple injuries indicate that Amy's death was no accident.
Would you expect to see those types of injuries when someone falls and hits their head?
Not 3 injuries, no. My opinion of the cause of death is unspecified homicidal violence.
But proving murder could be a problem for prosecutors because the judge has ruled that they can't use the tape of Hurst's incriminating interview.
I can't remember if she died instantly or if she was just knocked out, because it was like 3 days between the time that it happened to the time I disposed of the body.
Detective Shoneman admits she wanted the jury to hear that.
Were you completely confident in your own mind that you would be okay without it?
You're never completely confident. You don't know what the jury's going to think.
He had his elbow on his coffee table, had his head in his hands.
But the jury does hear Elmer Cruz's chilling testimony.
So he said, I got rid of the body the way you're supposed to get rid of a body. He said, I wrapped it up in plastic, tied a concrete block around it, and took it out and dropped it in the water.
This is what he uses.
Perhaps the most damning evidence of all, the secret audio tapes Elmer Cruz made, in which Hurst brags about his crime.
They have no way of proving that I had anything to do with anything. There's no eyewitnesses, I made sure of that.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You're free to go.
What was that like for you?
It was a new experience. That's the first time I'd ever done anything like that. But see, when you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about what's right. My wife tells me every day I get done a good thing.
The defense calls no witnesses.
This is a case of a tragic accident.
And William Hurst does not take the stand.
I'm upset about that.
Really? Why?
I want to know. I want him to tell me what happened.
You still want to know exactly what happened?
Absolutely.
This defendant, William Hurst, is guilty of first-degree murder. Thank you.
What was your frame of mind when the jury went out?
At that point, I just wanted to go home. But they said sometimes it could take 8 hours, sometimes it can take 20 minutes.
In fact, the jury is out a mere 3 hours.
I understand the jury has reached a verdict.
Yes, sir.
Defendant, please rise.
State of Florida versus William Hurst. Verdict. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in the indictment. So say we all this fourth day of April.
Can you describe your feelings when you heard those words, guilty?
I had something in me that I didn't know was even there.
What do you mean?
I just gasped out and started crying, and my cousin was sitting next to me, and we both just cried and cried.
Mr. Hurst, you are well and truly an evil man. I sentence you to life in prison.
Life with no chance of parole for 25 years.
Did you want him to get the death penalty?
We don't want the death penalty, because that's the easy way out.
Amy's family gathered at Elizabeth Lake in Waterford, Michigan, where Amy had often spent family vacations.
Her ashes were spread on the water, and they had roses on it, and they had rose petals out there, and it was absolutely beautiful. It's been 30 years. Time heals. But as we stood there on that boat, and I thought to myself, it's just like she died yesterday. Her kids in so much pain.
They've had to live all these years without their mother.
I drive by there all the time. I always look at the water.
But it gave you a sense that maybe she's at peace.
Right, yeah.
Amy's family acknowledges that peace would not have been possible were it not for Wendy Huggy. What would you have to say to the Huggy family?
Don't give up.
Never give up.
Something could still happen.
Do you think there's any hope that you'll ever know what happened to Wendy?
Honestly, no, I don't. It's really, really a long stretch.
It's a beautiful 17-year-old girl who just disappeared. Where is she? What happened to her?
But cold case detective Lisa Schoeneman is not about to give up.
Just came across a couple the other day, but it wasn't her.
But you're not going to stop looking?
Oh, no. No, I'll keep looking. I'll find her. I'll find her.